The days of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tamuz, in which the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from prison, falls out in Parshas Pinchos. The Frierdiker Rebbe also said in regards to his birthday, Yud Beis Tamuz, that he was born in Parshas Pinchos, and that most of the things that happened with him are hinted in this Parsha. In fact, the Zohar says that Pinchos and Yitzchak of course is the second name of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Pinchos and Yitzchak are the same numerical value, the same gematria. In truth, the first name of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Yosef, also has a connection to Pinchos. The Torah emphasizes regarding Pinchos that his mother was a descendant from Yosef. So the direct and open connection between the avoid of the Frierdiker Rebbe and Pinchos is that Pinchos, his kanos, his way of acting in a zealous way, when he went ahead and killed Zimri and Cosby, etc., was in a way that's described as halacha ve'ein moirin kain. That this is the halacha, but this is not something that a person is instructed to do. And in fact, according to some Rishonim, it's not even a halacha that this is what the official halacha is, but rather it's only optional. In other words, it's not that you're supposed to do this. The kanoi, the zealot person, is supposed to do this. It's only an optional thing. If he wants, he can do it. In a similar way, says the Rebbe regarding the Frierdiker Rebbe, that the way the Frierdiker Rebbe went about supporting Yiddishkeit and spreading Torah and mitzvahs, all of the things that led to his arrest, was in the kinds of things that there's no obligation, al pi halacha, for his Mesiras Nefesh, but rather, again, it was in a way that optional. You could have Mesiras Nefesh for these things. But the Rebbe takes it a step further. The Rebbe says, seemingly, you could ask, that this connection is more to do with the story in the end of Parshas Balak, where the story of Pinchas is actually related. What is the special connection with that which is discussed in Parshas Pinchas itself? Says the Rebbe, we're going to understand this by first having a look at what it says in the Yerushalmi. That what Pinchas did was actually considered shaloi b'ritzoin chachamim. The chachamim were not happy about what Pinchas did until Hashem came along and said, "V'hoi saloi ulezarei achar of bris kahuna hasolim," that Pinchas is actually going to be rewarded with kahuna for himself and his children. In other words, this act of kanos of Pinchas was not only a physical Mesiras Nefesh with his body, but even from Mesiras Nefesh for the neshama. Because the way he was acting was not according to the desire of the Chachmei HaTorah. In other words, they want to excommunicate him. And nevertheless, what does Pinchas do? When he sees this act of foolishness that the Yidden are doing, and as a result of this, the magay for the plague that's happening to the Yidden, Pinchas doesn't take anything into consideration. He's ready to give up both his body and his spiritual soul, his ruchnius, because this is going against the Chachamim, all in order to remove Hashem's anger from Bnei Yisrael. Where does such a behavior come from? Says the Rebbe, this is coming from the etzem hanefesh, from the essence of the soul, which is even higher than Torah, even higher than the limitations of Torah. And therefore the reward that he gets, and that's what's actually discussed in Parshas Pinchas, is also something that's going beyond the calculations and limitations of Torah itself. Because usually kahuna is something that passes on from a father to a child. And here, Pinchas, which was not a Kohen beforehand, because of his act, is getting the kahuna for him and his children after him. Says the Rebbe, so this is the point that we see in Parshas Pinchas, that what's being revealed is that this Mesiras Nefesh of Pinchas, that he didn't take anything into consideration, was in truth the true will of Hashem, and he even gets rewarded in such a way. Says the Rebbe, in a similar way is what we see by the Frierdiker Rebbe, that his Mesiras Nefesh was not only in a way that we said before that he had Mesiras Nefesh, even for things that he didn't have to, but furthermore, was even a Ruchni is the Mesiras Nefesh, because many of the G'dolei Yisrael of the time didn't understand the way of the Frierdiker Rebbe and didn't agree with the Frierdiker Rebbe. Especially, says the Rebbe, that for chinuch tinoike shel beis rabban, for educating these little children, he was now placing in sakana all the rest of his activities. In other words, his Mesiras Nefesh is not only a physical Mesiras Nefesh, but it's a Mesiras Nefesh beruchnius, and he's seemingly putting on the line all of his other ruchnius de kavoida. And again, he's going against what other certain Gedolei Yisrael thought was the right way. But, says the Rebbe, just like by Pinchas, ultimately it was revealed that this was the Ratzon of Hashem. In a similar way, by the Frierdiker Rebbe, through his Geula, was revealed that this is what Hashem really wants. The Rebbe makes a distinction actually. By Pinchos we say it remains halacha ve'ein moirin kain. That we don't instruct other people to act in a similar way. But by the Frierdiker Rebbe himself instructed other people to act in this way, and this is particularly the Hanhaga, this is the way that kept Yiddishkeit going for all times in that particular country in Russia, specifically through the Mesiras Nefesh of the Frierdiker Rebbe and those that he instructed to act in that way. Says the Rebbe, now we can also understand the connection to Yitzchak. We said that Pinchos is Begematria Yitzchak, and we also said that that's the Frierdiker Rebbe's second name, because the Mesiras Nefesh that the Yitzchak had by the Akedah was also not just a physical Mesiras Nefesh of his body, but through this he's also putting in danger the whole continuation of Am Yisrael. So in other words, Ruchni is the Mesiras Nefesh. And yet he goes Belev Shalom with a complete heart without even questioning. But, says the Rebbe, there is still a difference between Pinchos and the Frierdiker Rebbe. And this is hinted in the fact that the Frierdiker Rebbe, his name is not only Yitzchak, which we said is Begematria Pinchos, but he also has the name Yosef and Yitzchak. In order to understand this, the Rebbe first explains the difference between Yosef and Yitzchak, based on what says in Kabbalah and Chassidus, that Yosef is Begematria 3 times the name Ban. Ban 52 is one of the calculations how Yud Kei Vav Kei is spelled out fully, it equals 52. Yitzchak is Begematria 4 times Shem Ban, 4 times 52. And what's really relevant to the continuation of the Sikha is not so much about the Shem Ban, but more about numbers 3 and 4. The Yosef, again, because it's 3 times Shem Ban, so Yosef is connected to the number 3, Yitzchak is connected to the number 4. What is the significance of 3 and 4? So first of all, in the Aleph Beis, Gimel and Dalet is 3 and 4. The Gemara says, Gimel Dalet stands for Goimel Dalim. Goimel is the one that's giving, doing the kindness, and Dalim, Dal is the poor. In other words, Gimel is the hashpah, the giving, but it's still within how the mashpia, the giver, is preparing to give. And Dalet represents the action. Now the poor man actually has the food to eat. He's now being revived. He's being sustained. Says the Rebbe, so this is really what we speak about, the idea of Yosef and Yitzchak. We're going to be speaking about that Yitzchak represents the Maaseh B'Poel. In other words, Yitzchak, which is the 4 times Shem Ban, number 4, or Daled, represents the Maaseh B'Poel. And that's like Pinchas, which is Begematria Yitzchak. What is his idea? To carry out the mission, go ahead and do the act B'Poel Mamish. Because that's really what a shliach is all about. Pinchas, who's carrying out the act, he just needs to do the Maaseh B'Poel. The Rebbe says there's the concept of Naaseh, there's the concept of Nishma. Nishma might be the understanding behind something, the preparations to doing something. That's, as we said before, more to do with like the mashpia, giving and preparing something to be done, which is more like the idea of the nishma aspect. But then there's the nasa aspect. So Yosef, which Yosef again is connected to the number 3 and to the gimel. This is all going to be about that preparation for the action, or the thoughts that go in behind the action and before the action, the nishma aspect. And Yitzchak, on the other hand, which is related to the number 4, is more, and the Daled, that's more the Maaseh B'Poel. And that's why Pinchas, Begematria Yitzchak, is the idea that he carries out the Maaseh B'Poel. But Pinchas is not the Nasi Hadoir. Pinchas is just carrying out what needs to be done, so he needs to do the action. But by the Nasi Hadoir, and in this case, the Frierdiker Rebbe, he needs to have both in Yonim perfectly. The Nishma aspect, the Yosef aspect. In other words, all the preparation, the understanding, the kavanah, and the preparations for that, but also the Maaseh B'Poel, the Yitzchak aspect. As we saw, says the Rebbe, by the Frierdiker Rebbe, practically both in Yonim. On the one hand, he has all the actions, building mikvahs, sending rabbonim, shochtim, moyalim, establishing chadorim, sending melamdim, etc. But on the other hand, there's also the nishma aspect, teaching chassidus, revealing the deepest ideas of nigla and chassidus, which is all the nishma aspect. So again, just to clarify at the point, again, the Frierdiker Rebbe is connected to both ideas. Yosef being more the concept of the explanations, the understanding, the limud HaTorah, the preparations for the actions. But then there's the Yitzchak aspect, which is the Maaseh B'Poel aspect. Connected again, because Yosef is more connected to the number 3 or Gimel, and Yitzchak connected to number 4 and the idea of Daled. And the Rebbe concludes with the Hoirah, that by us, of course, there needs to be the idea of the Maaseh B'Poel going out there to be Makarav Yidden B'Poel Mamish. and to do the mitzvahs with them practically, hamaisa ikar, and getting them to do things in maisa b'poil. But, says the Rebbe, because we are the ones like Pinchos, who Pinchas said to Moshe, I got this instruction from you, I know this halacha from you. In a similar way, when we go as the shluchim of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe has this idea of the nishma as well, so therefore we also, because of our connection to Moshe, we have that nishma aspect as well. Furthermore, we also give it to the person who we are being makarev, who we are influencing as well. And of course, as a result of this, we're zoichet to Pinchos, hu Eliyahu, which is going to be mevasser, the geula, take it from Yad Mamash.